Today we're going to begin a series of talks between one week it will be me, the next week it will be Father Paul, etc., etc. And what we're going to do now is the cardinal virtues. I'll begin with the first virtue, and I'll give you a little bit of what the cardinal virtues are. And next week, Father Paul will do another one. We're hoping that these will come out on Fridays. So anyway, this is the cardinal virtues, and we will begin with the virtue of prudence. But let me just tell you about, if you want to, you can access this information, part of it, of what I'm saying and all that, and the Catechism to the Catholic Church, beginning on numbers 1803 through 1809, I think it is, and over there's also other explanations for virtues, and I'll tell you something beginning now. Okay, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 1803 and forward, talks to us about the virtues, and it says the virtues prepare and dispose people so that when the grace is offered, they really recognize, accept, and cooperate with this grace. In other words, God's grace is necessary, but virtues make it easier to work with. Okay? The grace is very necessary to work this virtue, but the virtue makes it easier for the grace to work on us. It's basically what it is. Now, what is a virtue? A virtue is a habit that perfects the powers of the soul and disposes you to do good. The divine grace is offered to the soul because without God's help, no one, humans cannot do any good whatsoever. We cannot do any good on our own. Everything is grace. Everything is by the grace of God. Everything is by the impulse of the Holy Spirit within us. So, grace, which is God's intervention, bolsters the soul, gives us the soul an impulse, providing the necessary oomph to do the right thing, the necessary power, the necessary push to do the right thing in the soul. That's what grace does to us. Now, we're going to be discussing the cardinal virtues, as I said before, which are prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. Now, these are not to be confused with the theological virtues, which the theological virtues are faith, hope, and charity. And maybe we can discuss this at a later date, when we finish with the cardinal virtues, or whatever it is that you guys desire, just let us know. Write us an email and let us know. And please don't forget, if you like these things and you haven't subscribed yet, and you're watching this on YouTube, of course, and you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please press the button on the bottom that's red, and it says subscribe, okay? Awesome. So, let's explain a bit about the virtue of prudence, which is the first of the cardinal virtues, okay? So, prudence gives us the ability to make right judgments, the knowledge of what must be done, okay? And contrary to popular belief, prudence is not timidity or avoidance of danger or cowardice or lack of initiative. It is not just knowing when not to do or say something. It is also knowing when to speak up when something needs to be said, even if it would be a very awkward thing or politically incorrect thing to say. Okay, but if prudence will tell us this needs to be said at this moment, or done at this moment, or it should not be said or done at this moment. It gives us the two things. what we must say and do and what we must not say and do. So prudence is the art of taking moral principles and applying them to concrete situations. There's a situation. Should it be done? Should it not be done? Let's take the moral principles on it and apply them to make a decision. And these are the principles, okay, that we need to know. First is knowing the principles. That is, knowing what the good of human nature are, and that we must work towards them and never against them. Knowing what are the good things for our human of our human nature, work towards them, never against them. Okay? So, that means that it's never prudent, regardless of the situation, to act against moral principles. For example, there's no such thing as a prudent pornography. Those of you that come and say, pornography is good because it's art and it's not pornography, it's never prudent to go against anything that goes against the good of human relationships. And we know that pornography, number one, enslaves the person that is watching it and makes it even more and more and more an enslavement. It also damages the spiritual life. It hurts the person that are doing this type of pornography, be there pictures or movies or whatever. It's exploitation of women and men. So that's why it's never, ever prudent. Never. It's never prudent to watch or to do or to involve yourself in pornography. That's just one example. There's many other examples, okay? But I don't want to get into it because I just want to give you an overview of what things are. Secondly, prudence is knowing how to apply the principles to the specific situation that we find ourselves. So that means the first part is knowing the goal, knowing what is it that we need to know. What's the goal? Is this situation right, wrong, whatever, knowing that. And then the second part is knowing how to choose the means of obtaining the goal. I was going to be meeting with some friends to plan a vacation in October to go and someplace, and so we need to sit down and find out how are we going to get there, what are we going to do, are we going to fly, is it going to be safe to fly, are we going to drive, are we going to, all those things, and what places we're going to visit, and also we need to find out whether it's prudent for us to go now because of all this chaos that is going on and the probability of us being infected. Okay, prudent is doing what you think is right. What you think is right, and that's the thing. It is so obvious. It is so obvious. When we say do what this thing, do the thing that is what is right. What you think is right, and it is so obvious that sometimes we don't think it's right. You know what I'm saying? And the problem is also lies in thinking we need to think things through, analyze them, we need to make sure that what we're thinking is done the proper way, analyzing, making sure that we know that it is right, because it's not doing what feels right. Many times we feel, we're in a questioning ourselves, should I do this? Should I not do that? Oh, but it feels good, so it must be right. No, not necessarily. It is following your conscience, but it is following an informed conscience. And prudence helps you to apply the moral principles, informing yourself, to the specific situation. Real quick, let's take the prudence, the steps to a prudent act. Number 1, deliberation. Here's where you gather all the information needed, like as I was saying with the vacation, starting with considering the moral principles, which includes the teachings of the magisteriums of the church. And of course, since the magisterium of the church teaches with authority, all a person needs to do first is to check if a certain act is immoral. And if it is, nothing else to do. We know that we cannot do it. We don't need to deliberate anymore. Prudence is about the truth of what is and what must be done. It is the truth that sets us free. And remember that we need to know what is true before we are free to do what is good. So we can let our own feelings or preferences get in the way of true understanding of the facts, and of course that's not good. We cannot let our own feelings. It's knowing precisely what is truly true, to be redundant. Number 2, judgment. After deliberating, we must weigh all the evidence fairly and figure out the best course of action. Judgment separates the relevant information from the irrelevant information and then applies it to the problem at hand. So you must come to some sort of conclusion. Otherwise, if you don't come to a conclusion, then the judgment is called indecision. Okay? Now, the third step is the execution. Once you judge the right thing to do, then you have to act on it. I mean, if you figure out the proper action, what needs to be done, or not done, or whatever, what the action has to be, and we fail to do it, we fail to perform it, then what's the benefit? We've gone through a lot of work and a lot of things for nothing. If you don't use it, if you don't act on it, you don't have the virtue of prudence until you actually do what you have judged to be right. So prudence is about smart living. It's not just about being smart in school or being smart in business. It's about being smart in life. And just like all the other virtues, this takes practice. We practice the virtues, and that makes us better at it. Experience also is a great aid to prudence. Not just your own, but also the experience of others. We need to ask others that are, seek the counsel of wise people. Surround yourself with people that are older or wiser, not necessarily older, just wiser, and that know more, and then that can assist you into making a prudent decision. So that's very valuable. Most importantly, you want to seek out the counsel of those wise persons. Okay, which are the wisest person? Which are the wisest of them all? The wisest person of them all? The Blessed Trinity. So seek the counsel of the Blessed Trinity. Seek the counsel of Our Lady, the saints, the angels. Go to them in prayer and ask for their wisdom. Ask for their wisdom and counsel and guidance in making the right decision in your life. Read the scriptures or the lives of the saints for insight on how to make prudent choices. I hope this helps you a bit, and I hope that you do subscribe and that you press the like button, the one that's like that. Next week, next Friday, it'll be Father Paul talking about the virtue of justice. May the Lord bless you always, fill you with His grace, He who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.